Good morning to you all. This is Monday morning before Christmas. Update on my Christmas present from me to me. It's been ordered and it's about to be sent from England, fortunately. If it had come from the States, it would have cost even more, owing to the extremely expensive postal charges. Just a little quickie on it. It's Canadian Northern Electric phone, one that would be used by the private operators, not Bell. So when it arrives, hopefully it arrives in one piece. I'll put a little video up on it. But I normally treat myself to a present each year, and that was, it's actually not the only one. The other Canadian phone was a present to myself. As I say, it looks, sometimes you see these things and you think, I don't know, are they worth the price they are? Well, I think my answer is yes. Look each week, each month at eBay. You'll see the prices gradually creep up. Not by leaps and bounds, but they do creep up. And while we're talking about eBay, there was an interesting phone on there recently, which was almost a prototype. It's a GEC phone. So that's on for auction. Whether I'm going to get that one or not, I don't know. I haven't put any bids in yet. I must admit, an ugly looking phone, but that's not the point. A lot of these is the rarity and investments. Okay, my interests are definitely on phones, bulbs, cacti and succulents, various antiques. I started collecting antiques when I was a kid. I think the influence from my mother. She was interested in antiques, and my father would often do repair jobs to antiques made out of wood, mahogany, you name it. Unfortunately, they're both no longer with me. So there it goes. It's interesting, and one of these days I'm going to have a little ramble on one of these vids that I do, or just sit down and just talk about general things that have sort of occurred perhaps during my lifetime. Let's face it, next month I'm going to reach 80. So, I have seen a lot of things in my life, particularly interesting things. Pleased to say, nothing to do with sport. I'll underline it here, I hate sport. The only thing that is worth watching, and not in large numbers, is snooker. There, they have got skill, and I mean skill. How they know which ball to pot, how to get the cue ball in position for another pot. I just don't know. It's absolutely amazing. I do know I met a gentleman through a friend. I think his name was Jack Carnham. Don't know if anyone knows his. I think he would do. I think he was quite famous. And we visited him, and he had a beautiful billiard table in his, I say garden shed. It wasn't a shed, it was an outbuilding that he had in. That was many, many years ago. Very interesting. Anyhow, I'm drifting off the subject, which I'm supposed to be talking about telephones. Well, all right, these are connected with telephones, and they're items you not often, but you occasionally see on eBay where the person selling them hasn't got a slightest idea what they are. They just know they're associated with telephones, the British type of telephones. The American ones of these are slightly different. I haven't got one, but they do the same thing. And in fact, they are protectors. The bigger one you see here is the earlier variety. They're well made. The Bakelite case. They're beautifully made. And consists of, where's my pointer? Consists of 2 fuses. I think it looks like they're 1.5 amp. So very, very fine wire in the fuse. You've got your wires from the exchange, which would go on there. That's your line in from the drop wire. And the other side you've got your line out, which goes to the telephone. On its journey, you've got, I already mentioned, a fuse, 2 fuses. So if there was, say your phone wire got somehow connected to the mains, house mains, or another high voltage source, you would immediately blow the fuse. That would protect, because these are called protectors, would protect the equipment in the exchange. Now the white blocks, you've got 2 there, they are replacements for what is used to be known as carbons, and the carbons were in fact made of carbon with a thin film sandwich. These are not the original types, these are what have been made up since. And when there was a lightning strike, which would have been a possibility, you just don't know where lightning is going to strike, they would immediately break down, and you've got a contact from the line to earth. So this screw down here would be connected to a ground spike. I know BT or Post Office in those days used a ground spike to facilitate the earth, also used on party lines. The third type of protection are these. These are called heat coils. They are sprung, and if the excess voltage occurs on the line, I'm not thinking of mains voltage or anything high like that, which would immediately blow the fuse. You had like a low, I don't know, a strenuous voltage on the line from the house, from your house, perhaps from the your equipment or something like that. So you have a slow, higher voltage leak. These would heat up, as the name suggests, heat coils. And once they've warmed up, there's a solder in there which connects them, and they spring apart. And by springing apart, they will earth themselves. Well, in this case, they don't earth themselves. they just break the line. So they come apart, the line is disconnected. So if there was a stray voltage on the line, either or both of these would heat and separate. This is a spring there, and disconnect the line from your home telephone. That is the purpose of the protector, and these were normally only fitted if your phone indoors was connected to more than 4 spans of overhead of copper cadmium wire. Not so much now. They tend not to use wire, but I remember in my early days, telephone poles used to contain loads of wires, single wires in pairs, and they were cadmium copper or copper cadmium. And another little interesting thing, on long strands you'd often see pairs of wires being transposed. So what the conductor, say, on the right hand side would change over to the left hand side, if you like, and vice versa. And the idea of that was to prevent overhearing, because 2 wires together acts like a capacitor and you could get sound. Now, while also talking about sounds, induction coils in the phone, they were called anti-side tone induction coils. Now, their main reason was to provide a little bit of power to the receiver so that the customer or the subscriber would know that the phone was active. You knew as soon as you picked it up, you got your little blowback, you puffed on it, you blow back, you'd hear that, and it did provide a little bit of anti-side tone. And also, without that, it'd probably still work, but as a friend of mine says, it could also affect the electromagnet or the permanent magnet in the receiver. It could cause it to drain its magnetic flux. So that's just a sideline. You'll probably guess now I like talking. Anyhow, that's what the protector does. 4 spans of overhead wire. Sorry about getting into transpositions. I could talk about loads of things. Now, going on to the more modern one, here you've got virtually the same thing, and the carbons in this case are the genuine carbon types, the original types, which was like 2 sandwich of carbon with a film in the middle which would break down from a lightning flash. You had your fuses. These would probably be 1.5 amp. Slightly different endings. These ones have just got the normal ends, but these do have little, I'll turn him over, they have little spade terminals. Number on there as well. I think that number's 37. And once again, these also used on 4 OH strands or more. You've got your line in, that's this end, and line out, which is those 2 there. And there you've got your earth connection. And this earth connection is also of the same type of earthing with an earth spike, which brings me on to another interesting little anecdote. I do like my little anecdotes. When I was training with NBT, or say BT, it wasn't even thought of then, General Post Office, GPO. When I was on training, I was told, how true this is, don't know, but a certain prefab, for you who don't know what prefabs are, and quite acceptable, they were used during the wartime and after the war. In fact, I remember my aunt, or cousin rather, lived in one. They were beautifully made. They were, how can I say, a fabricated type building made of aluminium or of metal, and they contained all the rooms you wanted, the bathroom, toilet, bedrooms, living room, kitchen. There's two types. Some were based on the English design with a flat top roof, and some on the American design, which was the one my cousin had. They were very, very much in use to house people. You don't see them now, or at least I haven't seen them for many, many years. They were called prefabs, or prefabricated buildings. Now, getting back to the little story, remember the casing of the prefab was aluminium. Well, someone had a phone installed. It was on a party line, which you needed the earth button so you could call the exchange. By pressing that, you applied a little bit of voltage via the line to operate a relay in the exchange. Now, what this person had done, he obviously had not used an earth spike. He had simply earthed the system to the metal of the prefab. Now, let's also remember that these prefabs had a mains device which would cut the mains voltage off if it became live. So if you had a short on your electrical system to earth, in those days they didn't have RCDs, like they're called, cutouts and that. It would be cut out by earthing or putting live current to the metal shell, and it would turn all the electrics off within that prefab. Now, in this case, everything appeared to be okay. Obviously, the engineer left saying goodbye. Let's hope your phone's working okay. It obviously did. Anyhow, when the customer went to make a call, and this is a story I was told. I'm pretty sure it was true. If it wasn't, someone may be able to correct me. When the customer left, very pleased customer, the brand new phone, 332 in those days. That was before the 700 series appeared. Might have even been a 232 pyramid type phone. But anyhow, he or she was obviously very pleased, and he decided to ring a friend up to let them know the number and all the other bits and pieces. Well, what happened, as soon as he pressed the calling button on the telephone, the lights went out. I don't think he had television then, but if he was listening to the radio, that would have gone out as well. And if he was ironing, that would have gone out. When he pressed the earth calling button, it tripped the electrical system. And this I was told many, many years ago. So it just goes to show. I do like my little anecdotes. I've probably got a few more, which I'm not going to bore you with now. Anyhow, getting down to earth and back. These are recapping line protectors. The American type of these is slightly different. I haven't got one, so I can't show you one. But these are line protectors. The older type was that one, which had the addition of heat coils. Incidentally, heat coils were often used in the exchange on the MDF main distribution frame. Recently, or later, they were replaced by little dummy metal, little pieces of metal which would fit in where that is at a piece of metal. But anyhow, the later type, which is this one here, only had the fuse and the heat coil. Anyhow, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to have my morning cup of coffee. Once again, thanks for putting up with my little anecdotes. I've got plenty more when I can remember them. So that is more or less that on protectors, which you occasionally see on eBay, where the person invariably doesn't know what they are. They just think they're a junction box. Well, okay, they can use the junction box, but this is the first place of entry where the line comes in, and these were found, as I say, if there was more than 4 spans of OH overhead wire. Anyhow, you'll be pleased to know I'm going to shut up now. Thanks again for watching. Thank you.